Hey, welcome back. Hope you are ready for another book review. This one is a little bit of a touchy subject, a lot of controversial on it. It's not about politics or anything like that, but it's about how we perceive technology and how is it used for us, and sometimes it can be a little bit manipulated as well. So let's go ahead and begin. So the book is called Digital Minimalism, and it's by Newport, and he is actually one of the he's a fantastic author. He's written over about 6 books on all sort of kind of instances in life, and you got to pick up more of his books. But interesting writer. This book was about, let's see, it's about 250 pages. So it's a pretty lengthy book, I guess you can say. And it's written in 2019, so this was pre-COVID, and that will kind of come into our discussion later on. And it's really choosing a focused life in a noisy world. And so there's a lot to explain here. So the book explores the concept of digital minimalism. It's a philosophy that advocates a more intentional and mindful approach to use of technology. So the key points of the book here are the philosophy of digital minimalism, problems with modern technology, practices of technology, so digital declutter, speed, time alone, reclaim leisure, and social media. The fourth is focus on high quality leisure. And the fifth thing is the philosophy of technology. So those are the 5 key points that kind of come out of this book that we are going to talk about today. And so the author, he is an associate professor at Georgetown, and he majored in computer science. And he's written over 6 books, like I just said a little bit ago. If there's a book that you might want to look at, it's called Deep Work. There's a lot of information about that. I actually have a book review coming up about that. Very interesting. So the book really focuses about how technology is used and gained, but it's also how technology has taken over our lives in a way. And technology can be a good thing, but technology can also be manipulated or abused for anything. So social media, the thing is, you have to, for anything, you have to work with it before you can criticize it. And I think that's really the objective of this thing is that in order to make some use of some things or talk about something, you got to see it in action before you can criticize it. Don't jump to conclusions too soon. So let's talk about that. The role of technology in our modern life. And so think back when we had MySpace. MySpace was very new to us. It was pretty much kind of looking at, connections between people. Music was trying to come up. We had what we call LimeWire. If you know what LimeWire is, we can download music illegally, I guess. And all that stuff. And then it was becoming like, well, what if I want to talk to a lost friend? What if I want to communicate with a lost friend without talking on the cell phone or talking on the phone? Well, in 2004, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, with just a few people that wanted to do this idea of what we call Facebook today, that revolutionized how we communicate. And in 2007, Steve Jobs introduced, the smartphone, or the first generation of iPhones. And the selling point of the iPhone was what Steve Jobs thought about is that, well, we have music and we have a phone. Well, let's just unite them. And that's what the thing with the iPhone is that now we can carry around music and talk in the same device without having 2 separate devices. And so that was kind of like the buy-in to that. And we lost control of ourselves because the cell phone, really, the iPhone or whatever thing you have, the communication technology-wise, is really overpowering our way of seeing things today. We have to remind ourselves to put it away. and focus. And it's the detrimental effects that we have on ourselves and the people around us. And so we kind of have this loss of control. This is kind of what, Cal Newport was trying to say now. And Cal Newport does not have a social media account. In the back of his book, he says that I don't have a social media account. I haven't did a lot of research on that, so I don't know if he does today or not. Remember, this was 2019. And so, back on the cell phone was about entertainment. It was something to kind of carry around. Technology was mostly just about entertainment and making things a little bit more accommodating for us and a convenience. But it was then it became to the addiction part. Then we kind of learned about, it's very addicting. It's kind of like smoking. And it was compared to smoking. Cell phones were. Yes, they were. If you look up the survey or research about that. And, it was very addicting. And so I looked up addiction, and it says this. It's a condition in which a person eagerly in a use of substance or behavior for which the rewarding effect provides a compelling incentive to repeatedly pursue the behavior despite detrimental consequences. So really, simplest terms, it's a way to kind of just gain our attention and ignore everything else. And it just gives that reward of, not nourishment, but seeking happiness in a way. It's to keep us busy, to keep us so focus orientated. It's addictive. It's like smoking. It's like drinking. It's kind of like going to the casino. Or maybe your sex addiction. There's sex addiction out there where you're so focused on that. So Google now is all over the place. That's what we focus a lot of stuff in. Larry Page, he and a couple other people do. We have Google now, and Google's all over the place. And so we can't really go without Google anymore for a search engine or look something up. And so in Facebook now, Facebook was becoming popular for communication things. Now we can sell things with Facebook ads and all that good stuff. And in 2007, there was buttons that you can click that grade. Oh, I love it, or I appreciate it. There's little buttons that you can pick for people's things. But now in 2009, Facebook pretty much got the idea. Well, let's take that idea and let's put it like a like button, Like button, because that is a little easier than saying, I love it, this is that happiness. You can look that stuff up if you want. But those are like the pre-buttons. But the like button's now going to be here. And so that was one of the things that Facebook didn't invent. They just got the idea that let's just make it an easier conceptualized thing now. And so it makes your mind more adaptable, not adaptable, but liking that. Because it's like, somebody likes my product. Oh, great. And so we are social human beings. I mean, we need to be socially approval by people and ourselves. This is why we go to and buy clothes and makeup and stuff like that, because we want to be socially accepted into the population, but looking good and stuff like that. It could be an image, but it's also about social appearance. And that's what we need to be. We are social human beings that need social approval sometimes. And so this philosophy in this book, it says that, technology we use in which we focus our online time on small number are carefully selected and optimal activities that strongly support things you value, and then happily miss out on everything else. So we spend a lot of time on technology, but we miss sometimes the good of other things without technology. We become so focused on technology that we miss other things in life that we value. So, not all digital minimalists end up completely rejecting the common tools these days. So, for example, the Amish. If you know anything about the Amish, they don't really have a lot of technology that we use. They're becoming more and more adaptable, or maybe more modernized, if you want to think of it that. But before, they didn't have anything. They pretty much they weren't really dependent on technology at all. They were pulling on manpower and stuff like that. And so the Amish, if you think about it, let me read something about in the thing here. It says that the reason most Amish are prohibited from owning cars, for example, but are allowed to drive in motor vehicles driven by other people, has to do with the impact of owning an automobile on the social fabric of the community. When cars first appeared at the turn of the last century, which is 1900s, the Model T Ford came out. The Amish noticed that drivers would leave the community to go picnicking or sightseeing in other towns instead of visiting family or stick around on Sundays or patronizing local shops on Saturday. As a member of the Amish community, when people leave the Amish, the first thing they do is buy a car. So owning a car is banned in most parish. So I think what he's trying to say, he's trying to quote somebody else, by the way, in the book, is that, Amish people, you have to break up the community. I mean, they like our, the technology we use, but in their culture, it's kind of against upon. And so, if you think about that, I'm not Amish. I don't really know anybody that's Amish. So if you're Amish, please, comment on that. And it's Amish. And when you're 16 years old, they celebrate they call it a Rumsabaka. I think that's how you say it. It's Rumspringa. It's a Rumsbaga. I think that's how you get it. But when you're 16 years old, they are allowed to leave the cottage, the home, and go experience the outside world. And a lot of them actually don't go out. 80 to 90% of them stay. But some of them do venture out, and they do experience that, and they do stay away from the Amish. They convert, I guess you can say that. But it's interesting as people eventually realize, oh, this is kind of fun. I would like this outside, but it's not everyone. So there in the book, Cal says that there are 3 ways to declutter digital progress or processes, I should say. So he says that, take 30 minutes. Take 30 minutes a day and take a break from all technology. Music in your ears, listening to the YouTube stuff here, TV, music, and just kind of get rid of that stuff. 30 minutes a day. And then during that 30 minutes, go do something and go rediscover other things that are non-technology things or activities. And then at the end of that break, reevaluate what you did. And then that will kind of reset yourself if you're spending too much time with technology. And you'd be surprised that you just needed a little bit of a break, and you can realize that, oh wow, I actually missed that activity and I didn't have to use any technology for it. And so we need to kind of get started for something to get going. And so the first couple weeks of this is going to be the hardest, obviously. But once it kind of gets there, the decluttering in your mind will happen. And that's what you want to do. You kind of want to regain that value again from without technology. And this could be a month long. It could be a couple months long. Depends on what you want to do. But 30 minutes a day wouldn't kill you. And really, you want to look for kind of like the solitude. The solitude is kind of like not just running towards the forest and being alone from everything. It's like going to a room. It's like taking a walk to the park. It's going down the street. Not in the car. Don't go in the car. Too many distractions, too much technology. But kind of just getting away for a little bit and being a solitude mindset. And that solitude is like you want to value it. It's kind of like what is happening to your brain, and not the environment around you. We all have technology around us all the time, but it's just a way to kind of reorganize your thoughts. Get rid of a lot of the technology stimuli that come in your head. And there's 3 in the book. He says there's 3 crucial elements to be in that solitude state. 1 is that you get some good ideas, some new ideas. 2, you kind of get to understand yourself more, your thoughts and your brain and stuff like that. Three, it's like you kind of develop a more of a closeness to others. Remember, we're social human beings. We like to be around people. We want to see people, even on the television or on our phones. Think about that. As you go through your phone and Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you want to see other people. It's crazy. We love to be social. And it's just, you get to kind of get closer to people once you put that technology away. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? But the phone, they did a study about this, and you average pick up your phone about 39 times a day, and you spend how much on the cell phone? So you pick up your phone 39 times a day, and how much are you on your phone scrolling? You'd be surprised. They did a study like this, and they found out 39 times people pick up their phone and measure how much time they're on it. And so we need to kind of put ourselves in a balance. And Facebook, back in 2012, Mark Zuckerberg wrote on Facebook, and he says that, my social mission to Facebook is to make the world more connected and open, which is fine. But we miss out on solitude. According to the book, we miss out on solitude, though. We want to be open and connected, but we need a balance. We need solitude. And that solitude, we want to make sure to be able to work clearly and regulate our emotions and not get depressed, because teenagers are getting social bullied, and it's becoming a big problem. And people are on Instagram or TikTok, and they're seeing things that maybe that's lowering their self-esteem a lot, and they're getting depressed. There's a lot of good stories on that. You should look that up yourself. But you have to be able to self-regulate yourself. And back in 2012 and 2000, a lot of depression. Teens were becoming depressed because technology and social media was beginning to develop, and it was a way to kind of connect people a lot faster and see. And it was depressing. Here's an example: is that maybe you have a friend that you went to high school, and now you're the same age, and you see that they have a job, they have kids, they have everything else, and you're still here. That might depress you a lot if you think about it. But you kind of lose that ability to process and make sense of your emotions. And so we kind of lose that when we were always engaged with technology. And so there's nothing wrong with being connected. But if you don't balance a regular dose of solitude, the benefits will diminish. So you need some solitude and you need some technology, and they need to be balanced. But if one is this or one is this, then you kind of lose something. Something gets diminished. Young people, for example, worry that if they temporarily disconnect through social media or technology, they might miss out on something good or more important. And sometimes that happens. They fear missing out. And so they don't want to become disconnected. And so the pre-cell phone time, pre-cell phone time is before cell phones really came out. And think of your grandparents. You might not want to think about your grandparents too much because, you don't have liked them too much, but they did something before you. They were here before you, or your parents. And a lot of them, when they went on vacation, they had a physical map that they would look at. They couldn't use GPS. They didn't have that at the time, or the technology for it, but they would have to use a map. They would have to find a location for there. They would have to find a phone booth, with a phone book, a yellow phone book, about that thick, about that big. The yellow phone book, all bunch of listings in it. They would have to put some quarters in it, and they had to go around and find one. And that was kind of challenging sometimes, because it depends on where you were. And so you had to be a problem solver. Today, we have it kind of easy. I mean, you go to your phone, you Google it, you do GPS, you can go right there. But the thing is with that, though, it's very easy. It gets a little bit more abused, I think, because it really tells your thinking that, hey, I'm not problem solving anymore. My GPS says I just go here, I'm there. but does it give you the right direction? Because maybe you know the area and you can just say, you know what, I'm just going to go this way instead. So you got to be a little bit smarter than some of the technology and just not let your brain kind of plateau. And so, what happens with this is, well, think of the more of this diminishing abilities. Well, what about handwriting? We use computers a lot to write stuff, but we don't handwrite stuff anymore. We don't take handwritten notes anymore, and maybe mailing letters anymore. Mail a physical letter to somebody. Maybe mailing a birthday card to somebody. We don't do that a whole bunch. Maybe we have something that pops on your text messaging. We don't write checks anymore. Write checks anymore and fill out the person. There's only a few things that involve signing your name, and who learns cursive anymore? So a lot of those things kind of diminish. We don't have enough practices with them. And our brains evolved to crave that rich attachment, that richness of social beings. And Aristotle, back in 1300 BC, he pretty much was, wow, I would like to know him. He had something with logic, philosophy, mathematics, and some science. And he pretty much, the father of logic, he says that we are social human beings. We need people to be around, in his philosophy. And we need things. And there's another book on called Social. It's on social. It's by David Lieberman. It's another book that I will have for you as well soon. But David Lieberman, he's a well-known social psychologist. He says that we are interested in the social world because we are built to turn on the default network during free time. David Lieberman is trying to say is that during our free time, what do? Well, we go TikTok, we use Facebook, we turn on the TV, we turn on the music, we play a video game. We are social human beings. We want to see other people. And it's crazy as we think about it. And so we are hardwired. And the paradox means that we have social media makes us feel connected, but also lonely. And we can be happy, but when we look at social media, we can be sad and depressed. So you think it's really interesting the paradox happens that way. And so our brains evolve in that world. So humans are biased towards activities that require less energy for a short amount of time. So when you text message somebody, there you go. I delivered a happy birthday. I'm done. I didn't talk to you on the phone. I text messaged you, and then I put the least amount of effort into that. I'm done. So we kind of feel that the face-to-face interaction. Now, like I said, that this book was written 2019. This was pre-COVID. COVID came around about 2020, right? It was getting to that problem. So think of what happened. We went to Zoom. We couldn't go meet people or anything like that because of COVID, right? So Zoom became our thing. Now look what happened to that. Zoom is kind of having its problems now. People are becoming more Zoom-like rather than face-to-face interactions. And that's common an issue. But now people are not working at home a whole lot anymore. There's only about 10% that do. But we're back in the office because of other variables too. And so we have this human activity. So humans have maintained rich and fulfilling social lives for the entire history without technology. Technology, phones were not here all the time. People had to talk to each other face to face. It's really interesting as we go through that. So think of board games. Something you can do with people to become less dependent on technology as board games, Scrabble, playing cards. That is really good. And we have to practice what we preach. So maybe monitoring, parents need to do this when they give a phone to a kid is say, hey, you know what? This is a telephone. I spent much money on this. I'm spending a lot of money on your plan every month. This is what I want you to do. This is what you have for your phone now, to have your phone. And teaching them that responsibility, not just here's the device, do what you want. You're not going to have no training on it. You need some parameters. And it teaches them a little bit about what technology can do to them. even at little teeny kids. I mean, 4 years old, 3 years old, having a phone to watch, keep them busy, I think it's a terrible no-no. And so you need to preach what we pray is that, students, teachers, and parents and government need to be the imitators. Imitating what they need to do right because people can follow them. And you also need to reclaim your leisure. We also need to be relaxed and go into the gym without any technology. Just go to the gym without anything in your ears, something like that. And just be without it for a little while. Join something. Go to a meeting. Read. Go on a bike ride or something like that. Get in a social gathering without technology and see how you can reassemble yourself in a way. Take a break from that because the iPhones are still the iPhone and technology are always going to be here. Well, they're being here now. And AI is here now too. We have to be able to break some of that so we can reevaluate being a human. And so, because you always have the phone with you, it's the occasional opportunities to check. And one more thing here. And this is kind of an interesting thing that we value digitized and communication we really value that stuff. And we value social media. And what I was going to read for you to make this very short is that social media is probably going to be here for forever until something else is created. And think about on TikTok, think about what you're doing on Facebook all the time. You're giving them time, you're viewing things, and you're giving them money. And they're not going to quit as long as you're giving them screen time, their earnings. Think about that. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I know you can sell things on it, but just kind of withdraw from that for a little bit and think about, you need to focus on yourself too and not too much on the technology because it can lead to more detrimental things down the road. And I mean, I depend on it too. There's nothing you can't to disaway from that, but sometimes you have to really think about yourself too, what it's doing to you. And kind of get away from it. So another thing I wanted to kind of say is that it's in the book they kind of say that we got to declutter our brains and to make sure that we evolve without technology so much that we don't lose ourselves in technology. And I think that's really the bottom line there is that we need to focus on ourselves without the noisy world around us so much and just kind of what do I need to do? And like I said, this is a big topic. This is a very controversial topic. I know there's people out there going to be like, well, technology is fine. I have no problem with it. That's okay. That's fine. I'm just doing a book review and I'm just elaborating all this information that I'm reading for this. And when I'm reading, it makes a little sense to me that, maybe Cal Newport has a point. So I think it's more maturity too, but it's a perceived thing. So hopefully that was okay. Comment if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video.